Good evening. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Bolingbrook Village Board to order. I'd like to start with the pledge to the flag, but I'm going to ask the man in the control room, Jim Singer, to come out and lead us to pledge the flag. Jim Singer's been president of BCT for several years. I don't know how many, it's not really relevant, but he's been a very loyal BCT member, and he's put together shoots for Chambers of Commerce grand openings, for festivals, jubilees, and whatever else is important. And I think it's important that we memorialize his name. Come on up here. Please, please. Memorialize him in the minutes as leading the pledge. So Jim and his wife Judy have been, they're at all the shoots. You've all seen him, but he's the man in the control room that runs the cameras. So he set the camera fixed on this podium, and we got to give him about 30 seconds to get back to the flex, right? All right, Jim.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jim. No problem. Roll call, please.
Mayor Claire.
Here.
Trustee Zarate.
Here.
Trustee Lawler.
Here.
Trustee Basta.
Here.
Trustee Watts.
Here.
Trustee Carpenzano.
Here.
Trustee Jaskowitz.
Here. Next, I have the approval of the minutes, the regular meeting of June 9th. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion trustee Basta, second of trustee Zarate. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The minutes are approved. I'd like to interject this point. There was a comment made on Facebook, and I do look at some of the stuff. Some of it's well-written, some of it's frankly not very bright, and typically they never check the facts. We are operating under the COVID-19 directive of the governor of the state of Illinois. Having said that, we're limited how many people can come in this room because of the capacity issue and group meetings. We have an option of doing a virtual meeting, which we've chosen not to do, and have people here at the meeting itself, and the board has been very cooperative with that, and I appreciate their cooperation. But part of the problem is we always had to publish. If you wanted to speak about an agenda item, you had to give it to us in writing ahead of the meeting because we could never predict if there would be room for all the people to come to a public meeting and speak. For any attempt to prevent anybody from speaking or commenting, it's just because of the rules we had to go that direction. So if people put that out there, tell them to check the facts. We're only adhering to the governor of the state of Illinois. Now, the reality is, at this point, Friday, we go into phase 4. Phase 4 allows meetings of 50 people. And that means we can go, instead of the theoretically 20 people like we have in here now. In fact, Jim, count the number of people in here real quick, would you? We can go to 50, so some of those rules now change. There'll be sufficient room for people to come to the meeting and express a question or a concern or a comment about the agenda. But there was never any attempt to prevent people from asking questions. We were just trying to make it easy under the rules that have been placed upon us by the governor. Because the governor made it clear he controls the stimulus money, and people that don't adhere to his rules may be penalized on the amount of stimulus money. So we'd rather be safe than sorry on stimulus money forthcoming from the state of Illinois. How many?
There's 11 in the audience, and then there's people on the day.
Okay, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. There's 19 people here.
20.
And they're socially distanced at the board, or 20, counting me. So now we can go to 50 as of Friday, so the next meeting will be operated a little differently. Okay, back to the agenda. Approval of the agenda. Mr. Odelson.
No additions or corrections, Mr. Mayor.
All right, is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Motion trustee Carpenzano, second trustee Watts. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We have no appointments to the Board of Commissioners this evening, so we get the reports of officers. A couple things I want to comment about before we go to the public hearing. We are having the village picnic this Sunday. There are some that think that's not a good move. Others like the idea, but we're going forward with it. And if there's people that don't feel comfortable around a larger number of people, then I would suggest perhaps you not come, although we would like for you to do so. The village picnic, just so you know, has been around for probably 35 years. It's always been held the last Sunday of the month. And what's unique about our picnic, in my opinion, is it's for nonprofits, non-for-profits. All the groups that are there exhibiting, having booths, selling water, selling corn, whatever, is all done by non-for-profit organizations to benefit them. It also gives them an opportunity to tell the general public about what their non-for-profit does and encourage them to get involved in some of those activities. For example, the JCs would often run the bingo tent, and they use money to help the community. The Lions Club would sell snow cones, and their profits go to the Lions Club, which help the hearing and visually impaired. And the list goes on and on. Now, we don't have as many exhibitors this year. We do have hot dogs, a lot of hot dogs. So if you come, don't eat lunch before you get here. Free hot dogs, which has been a tradition. When I came into office, the previous mayor gave out barbecued pork. Well, the picnic's grown to the point where barbecued pork got a little expensive for several thousand people, so we went to hot dogs, a little cheaper. But Toronto Bakery's donating all the buns, 4,000 buns. There's going to be 4,000 hot dogs available. And by the way, the hot dogs, in order to do that, the village gives the scouts $500, and the scouts cook the hot dogs. Well, this year, the scouts themselves won't be helping with it, but the scout parents are going to be cooking hot dogs, and they'll be going around handing them out. And all we ask is that Sunday, if you feel so inclined, you should wear a mask. I imagine most people will be wearing masks, but stay socially distanced. The different groups are around the pond and back of Village Hall, so they're all separated by some distance, and we'll just ask people to keep it moving. In other words, if there's a booth where 8 or 10 people gather, we'll say, could you move along and maybe come back when it's not such a crowd here. Anyway, it's Sunday from noon to 6. Typically at noon, there's a little brief presentation and a few comments are made by myself, and there's is a fishing derby on? Somebody should know.
I heard Tourstown they were doing it.
Lucas?
When I talked to him yesterday, it was.
It is? Well then, jump in there and help me. The fishing derby's on. That's put on, AFSCME, our Public Works Union, has volunteers that come out and run the fishing derby. And there's prizes for the first, second, third place by a youth edition, our youth, and there's also first, second, third for adults. And most people catch and release, but some take it home and have it for lunch. So whatever, it starts at 5 o'clock in the morning, and they typically call it, and at noon I present first, second, third place. Anyway, it's noon to 6. There won't be quite the same amount of entertainment for, I think, obvious reasons. We had to cut back on that. There won't be a petting zoo. There won't be a pony ride, because those things are all collect people, and we had to steer away from those. But anyway, you're all welcome to join us on Sunday, noon to 6. Moving on, a week or so later, it's 4th of July. 4th of July fireworks are going to continue at the Bolingbrook Golf Club. It's being called the Drive-In 4th of July. Staff has worked very closely the last couple of weeks to put together parking arrangements and all these kinds of things. The clubhouse itself will be closed, but you can drive and park. There's a parking space has been identified for 2,500, 3,000 cars, and we'll be very loose on parking restrictions that night to park along the road and watch it. Fireworks have been changed to where they're being elevated. Like fireworks, traditionally, sometimes there's some ones that are relatively low to the ground because we want everybody to be able to see it. We've asked the purveyor of the fireworks to raise it to the 200 to 300 foot range so people in the neighboring homes can see it from their own homes as opposed to driving over here. And it'll start, it's about 30 minutes long, and it'll start around 9:15, 9:20, 9:25, whenever it's dusk. And I think we're going to be playing, broadcasting the music somehow, some way. We play patriotic music, starting out with Kate Smith's God Bless America, and it goes into all these military service organizations, songs, Anchors Away and all that for the Navy and the other groups. And then we have Lee Greenwood, Proud to be an American's played. That will be broadcast, I believe, on an FM channel that you'll be able to pick up in the immediate vicinity. And it's also, it's going to be Facebook Live too. So all that will be coming out on Facebook page and our book page next week. So that's those two items. Two other points of, I think, sadness, or in fact, no sadness. One is, a few years ago, Jim McQuetty, who owns Mistwood Golf Club, came to Bolingbrook and bought the Ditka Dome, as it was called back then, and changed it to McQuetty's, and now he's called the Mistwood Dome. He called me and asked me, do you mind if I call it Mistwood Dome? Because he's got Mistwood Golf Course in Romeoville. And I said, hey, you own it, you call it what you want, you know? So he called it Mistwood Golf Center, and he put a lot of money into place, renovated it, was getting ready to put an addition on it. Unfortunately, Jim passed away yesterday. Very sorry to hear that. A very nice man, and it's just tough to hear that. I don't know how old Jim was, but it wasn't COVID-19, but he passed away from very serious disease that came on very quickly. I talked to him last week, and he was not well then, but I had no idea it would happen so quickly. And there's another gentleman that you've all seen over the years, a BCT stalwart who videotaped a lot of our functions, did a lot of our ribbon cuttings. He did a lot of the jubilees and festivals and back where you stand for hours and just videotape Pakistani, Philippine Festival, Joy Fest, and so on. Gary Handward. Gary's a very quiet, reserved guy. I don't think many people talk to him very much, but he's very, very ill. And he's been placed in a convalescent center, and he's just not doing very well at all. So keep Gary in your thoughts. I think you all know what I'm talking about. Had a full beard, but very nice man. And that's it. Now we go to the public hearing. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second. Motion trustee Basta, second trustee Lawler. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Zarate.
Here.
Trustee Lawler.
Yes.
Trustee Basta.
Yes.
Trustee Watts.
Yes.
Trustee Carpenzano.
Yes.
Trustee Jaskowitz.
Yes. This is the annual public hearing, which is required by statute. We have to approve the budget for our Community Development Block Grant Funds, commonly called CDBGE funds. This series, we need to control, it's going to be for a fiscal year starting in October 2nd. Our grant this year is very similar to this past year. We've asked for we spend $36,000 of it for finance and foreclosure counseling, housing counseling, which has become a real problem for a lot of people with COVID-19, not being able to make mortgage payments and so forth. So the need for counseling has increased dramatically. Emergency home repairs, $35,000 for those people who qualify on an emergency basis. We have $35,000 there. Emergency housing displacement assistant, $2,000, not a lot of money, but our area hotels and housing situations have been very cooperative. We have to get a room for somebody on a short-term basis and so on. Infrastructure improvements, $250,136. That's been used in a lot of areas over the years for road resurfacing, and this past couple of years we've used it for Fernwood, the new parking spaces we've added to Fernwood, which to my knowledge, at least cross my fingers, knock on wood, has solved the parking problem over there. I've heard no complaints about lack of parking. Basically, we just added parking on both sides of the street, and we carved in parking areas along in the parkways. And there are some people concerned that wouldn't look very attractive, but it is working. And again, there's plenty of parking now at Fernwood. And just so you'll know, Fernwood, Cherrywood, Winston Village, and several others, those were all developed and built back in the 70s, and some even in the late 60s. And back in those days, well, first of all, developers don't like to add any more parking than they have to. That's just the nature of development. But more importantly, people didn't own as many cars back then. Now, everybody's got a car. So consequently, the standards to build those developments were built under a different standard that didn't require as much parking. Well, roll the clock out to 2020, and people don't have enough parking because they've added parked cars for their kids. We have second cars, third cars, and that's been an issue. And so we've been trying to solve it as we can. We added a ring road to Beacon Ridge a couple of years ago with CDB funds, which provided additional parking for Beacon Ridge, which helped solve the problem in Beacon Ridge. And we're looking at other issues in other parts of town as those needs come up. And administration of Will County, the Will County, years ago, we were part of Will County CDB funds. When we reached the population of 50, I immediately petitioned Housing and Urban Development, HUD, to give us separate entitlement which meant they gave us a fixed amount of money based on our population, which gave us greater control of how the funding was spent. Before, we had to lobby with other communities. Well, once we reached our own entitlement amount, that became our money to spend as we wished. HUD decided a couple years ago they wanted to reduce the number of entitlement communities and asked us if we would go back to Will County. Well, it really wasn't an ask, but we treated it as an ask. And we negotiated a settlement with Will County where we get our entitlement amount, but we're part of the overall Will County CDBG. So they do take out the administration portion to run the CDB program, which is processing all the paperwork, and I can assure you the paperwork for CDBG is very voluminous, federal requirements for reimbursement, et cetera. So anyway, that's the grant, totaling $403,919, and this money has to be spent in low mod areas. And that's a lot of different things, and we just deal with it. Lucas, the $250,000, what are we gonna do with that?
Right now, we're looking at maybe streets next year. We have about 100,000, so we take this 250,000. This money isn't actually available until October 2nd.
I know.
So it can't be used this year.
It's money for infrastructure. We'll probably use it for road resurfacing in low mod areas, which we've traditionally used in the past. We use it for sidewalks in low mod areads. I think we used some for streetlights in the older section of Bolingbrook that was built without streetlights. So we're trying to do catch up on those things. Questions? Anybody on the board? It's a public hearing. Anybody in the audience has a question on this? Seeing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
Motion trustee Basta, second trustee Lawler. Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Zarate?
Yes.
Trustee Lawler?
Yes.
Trustee Basta?
Yes.
Trustee Watts?
Yes.
Trustee Carpenzano?
Yes.
Trustee Jaskowitz?
Yes. Okay, next we have, anybody in the public has a comment that we're not sending in by email? A couple of people on Facebook were disgusted they couldn't ask a question. They didn't, so maybe next time. All right, our first motion this evening is a motion to accept the low bid from Orange Crush in the amount of $2,859,064 for the 2020 street resurfacing program. Is there a motion?
So moved. Oh, second.
Sheldon made motion, okay, and Mike Carpenzano second. All right, this is an interesting way we bid this year. We bid 3 levels, A, B, and C. You were all given that list. Trustees were. The A streets are the ones that definitely need attention. B are not quite as bad but need resurfacing. And C is a group that again needs resurfacing, but were the lowest of the 3 lists in terms of priority. Because of COVID-19 and the fact we cannot get a handle yet what our revenues are going to look like in this next year's budget, we decided to ask Orange Crush, and I believe they've agreed.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Well, you didn't move your head. We're going to accept the bids tonight for groups A and B and hold on group C for a month or so to see what the revenue picture looks like in July. We may go forward and do C, but Orange Crush has agreed to leave their bid fixed for the same amount, and they were the low bid on this contract. They've agreed to honor that amount of money, even though we're not accepting tonight if we do it again in a month or a month and a half yet during this construction season. So we may do A, B, and C, but right now we're only proceeding this motion just for A and B. And that list of A and B streets would, James, would you make sure that gets posted tomorrow? Assuming it's passed tonight?
Yes.
Don't post C, just A, B. Questions? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Zarate?
Yes.
Trustee Lawler?
Yes.
Trustee Basta?
Yes.
Trustee Watts?
Okay.
Yes.
Trustee Carpenzano?
Yes.
Trustee Jaskowitz?
Yes.
All right, I skipped a couple of things. Bill approval. Bill listing A, $995,646.83. Bill listing B, $820,677.57. Total of $1,816,324.40. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion trustee Basta, second trustee Lawler. Questions on the bill list? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Trustee Zarate.
Yes.
Trustee Lawler.
Yes.
Trustee Vasta.
Yes.
Trustee Watts.
Yes.
Trustee Carpenzano.
Yes.
Trustee Jaskowitz.
Yes. Tax receipts, March 2020, state income tax, $739,679.46, corresponding to a year ago of $708,263.81, or a 4.4% increase. Now, that's interesting. You know, I'm going to make these similar comments on a couple more of these. It's interesting because COVID-19 kicked in on March 20th, or thereabouts, which means some people were furloughed, laid off, whatever. So we were anticipating a bit of a dip on the income tax for that month, but in fact, we got a 4.4% increase. March 2020 sales tax, $2,500,415.15, corresponding to a year ago of $2,809,018.85, or 11% decrease. Now, with that one, we anticipated a much greater decrease in sales tax because retail, as we know it, was shut down. Now, what we're going to further examine as this goes along, I've asked Rosa Colon, our Director of Finance, to take a look at Meijer was open and apparently did a very good business. Costco remained open. Bass Pro remained open. And I guess it shows you engines they are for the village of Bolingbrook, that their sales continued strong because they were open, because they were considered essential businesses. So we got kind of caught by surprise that. Now, the real proof will be in the middle of July when we get the April sales tax. Happen in April. So we really won't get a handle on our budget for next year until April, perhaps even May, depending on what April looks like. If April takes a 50% dip, what I just said about Bass Pro and so forth kind of goes away. On the other hand, if you take the 11% decrease and project it out for a full month, that means we lost about $800,000 that we normally would get based on the decrease, for April. I hope that's, you follow me here, I'm not sure I'm following myself. So then we'll get a better handle on to see what the hit is. And of course, we also are waiting for Will County. DePage is already ahead of Will County as usual. And I've been talking with our county board members on how they're going to distribute this money to communities. And DePage County has a formula. The governor gave all the money to the county boards to distribute. Not sure I totally agree with that, but it is what it is. So the county board is coming up a way. In fact, they're talking about hiring a consultant. Why, I don't know, to tell them how to spend money to the municipalities. I would like to think we have enough expertise among ourselves to see what we need and distribute it. But they were given $120 million to give to municipalities. And DePage is doing it on a per capita basis. Will is looking at doing some. They're going to give, I'm told, about 55% to municipalities, the other 45%. Well, they're going to cream off some themselves, I'm sure. But they're going to then dole it out to non-for-profits and others that need help. But they still don't have a decision on that, and so we're kind of in a holding pattern waiting for that too. Hopefully that'll come online by the middle of July, about the time we get a better handle on our revenues. That make sense? Next, March 2020 motor fuel tax, $233,708.13, corresponding to a year ago of $162,392.46, or a 43.9% increase. Again, you would think that would have taken a dip since people weren't driving to work. So, March 2020 state administrative fee, the state of Illinois continues to, in my opinion, almost steal $18,998.62, about $250,000 a year, that the General Assembly, to balance their budget, decided to keep part of our sales tax money on a alleged administrative fee, which they didn't charge for the first 50 years of the sales tax. But again, they keep passing those on to us. April 2020 state income tax, $458,165. Now here we do see the hit of COVID-19. State income tax last year was $1,473,290.38, or 68.9, basically a 70% decrease, because people weren't working, so consequently not paying sales or our income tax. So that's part of the money we need to add to the sales tax, hotel tax, and real estate. There's all kinds of revenues we gotta analyze over the next month or so. In the April 2020 motor fuel tax, $217,594.04, corresponding to a year ago of $148,822.56, or again, a 46.2% increase for April. Now, for those of you that don't watch meetings or hear that much often, sales tax is about a 90-day lag time before we get the money from sales in Bolingbrook. Hotel tax, we get monthly because it comes directly from our hotels here in Bolingbrook. State income tax, we get, it's a shorter turnaround for state income tax. And motor fuel tax is kind of random. We're never quite sure what that schedule's gonna be, so it's never a month to month per se. But when we get it, we count it for that month. So there's a lot of balls in the air on the revenues, but we're watching them closely, and we should have some better handle on what's gonna happen with our funds in July, mid-July. Questions? Next, we have a resolution approving a proposal from Intera Inc. for quality assurance testing for the 2020 street resurfacing program. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion trustee Foster, second trustee Jazowitz. This resolution retains Intera Inc., a local firm, to provide material quality assurance for the 2020 street resurfacing program. The cost is $50,110, which is $110 over the budget amount. So we budget 50, the bid's $50,110. You have to hire a separate testing firm. In addition to our own tests for road improvements, we have to hire an outside firm to do that testing. Unfortunately, Intera is here in Bolingbrook, right off Remington Boulevard, has a successful low bid, so this gives them that bid. Questions? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Zarate.
Yes.
Trustee Lawler.
Yes.
Trustee Vasta.
Yes.
Trustee Watts.
Yes.
Trustee Carpenzano.
Yes.
Trustee Jaskowitz.
Yes. Yeah, for the public, we know that a firm like that's local. We should put that in the agenda so people know it's a local firm. Next resolution approving a proposal from HR Green, Inc. for the third-party inspection services. Is there a motion?
So moved.
First trustee Watts, second trustee Lawler. Now, this is not a local firm. The resolution approves a contract with HR Green, who's been working with us for several years to provide third-party inspections for the building department. Current staffing levels cannot keep up with the seasonal volume demand during the construction season. Manpower shortage was increased with Dan Bonamici's retirement last week or so. The cost is $14,410 per month, not to exceed $84,000 for the entire year. The Public Service Committee has reviewed and recommends acceptance. Dan Bonamici was an excellent building inspector, building commissioner, retired last week, and June 1st, I guess it was, but he retired. A great guy. He was a go-to guy. There was an issue about a building problem. Dan could go out and mitigate the problem, did an excellent job, and will be sorely missed. The position's been advertised. It's a very complex position. It's not just a starter-level position. It takes somebody with a lot of construction experience and certain certifications. Well, we are looking. But in addition, even if Dan didn't leave, we'd probably still be hiring this firm because everybody waits till June, understandably so, to turn in their permit for their deck, for their pool, for their driveway improvements, for their patio and back, and we need to inspect it. Now, a lot of people think this is a moneymaker. We do not make money off permits for these inspection services. The best we try to do is recover our costs. But we need to do that because, give you a couple examples, if somebody wants to put a deck in their backyard, if we didn't have to require them to permit, they could put a deck right in the middle of their backyard, which would totally change the stormwater runoff and affect 2 or 3 neighbors by flooding their backyards. Or they could want to put a pool in and decide to put it over the ComEd line, which causes problem in terms of Commonwealth Edison, and you don't necessarily want an electric line underneath your pool filled with water. Other issues come into play when people start putting in posts for fence, and they don't get a Julie, they don't pay attention to that, and they drive a post hole digger into a ComEd line, which could be more than just a problem with electricity. It could be a problem for the person running the post hole digger. So that's why we do permits, to make sure you're not going to hurt yourself or hurt somebody else, or damaged stormwater flow and so on. Anyway, this is the service for the year. Some of this, I don't know how much, will be reimbursed through the permit fees, but we need to do it, and we need to get these permits out there so people can, and that's been increased too with people being home with their stimulus, not their stimulus money, their checks and their bonus checks that the government sent out. I think some people decided, well, now it's time to put the pool in. Can't go swimming at Brack because it's closed, but you can put it in your own pool. Questions? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Zarate.
Yes.
Trustee Lawler.
Yes.
Trustee Basta.
Yes.
Trustee Watts.
Yes.
Trustee Carpenzano.
Yes.
Trustee Jaskowitz.
Yes. Next resolution is approving a change order for Rodeo Drive and Kings Road roundabout with Ruppin Sharp and Associates, Inc., and Upchurch Group, and K5 Construction. All three people were involved in this construction project. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion trustee Carpenzano, second trustee Basta. This resolution approves several change orders from the Rodeo Kings Road roundabout. The change orders are a result of utility conflicts, changes in scope of work, and weather-related delays. Over the 33 years I've been mayor, I've been involved with lots of construction projects of lots of roads here in Bolingbrook. And one of them I'm looking forward to being completed is this one, but I can assure you it has run into numerous unanticipated problems. King Road is, or excuse me, Rodeo Drive, formerly known as 119th Street, has been around 100 years, maybe longer. And for the first 100 years, there were not a lot of requirements or records kept. So there were utilities buried that weren't marked. So during construction, they discover this, they discover that. There was a high-pressure gas main that had to be moved. And the company that owns the high-pressure gas main couldn't make up their mind on how they wanted to do that. Unfortunately, their attorney is former State Senator Kirk Dillard, who did a remarkable job in getting all the parties at the table and getting that resolved, but that did delay it a few weeks. We had issues with other utilities getting things done. And of course, some utilities couldn't do their work till the other utility got their work done. All the poles in ComEd, the lines had to be taken down off the poles before ComEd could take their poles down, because we wanted to underground it, which they had to come in and do after some of the road work got done. So everything had to be timed, and then we've had record rains. I don't know if people saw it or not, but last year, Will County, actually Chicagoland, broke the record for rain in the month of May. It was about 8 inches, and they surpassed that by almost another inch. And of course, that is start to deal with road construction when you're doing major road work. But I'm told we could be driving on both roads by the end of next week, in time for the 4th of July fireworks. Coincidental, but I told them we got to have it open by then. And I know some people are confused with the roundabout, but keep in mind the roundabout saves close to $1 million in the cost of a stop-and-go light. Traffic flows continuously without being stopped at 2 o'clock in the morning by a random stoplight that nobody on the road, it just cycles through. It's cheaper, I think it's more attractive, and it's really easy to get used to. You just got to pay attention, but that's what you should be doing anyway. And King Road is going to be a huge reliever, I think, for some extent for Weber Road traffic. People traveling north and south on the west side of town are going to have another north-south access opposed to Weber and Essington. And that road, I'm looking forward to getting that done. And the signalization of 111th and King will be activated Friday? Thursday. So that light will go on Thursday. Where I'm asking about the status of the street lights have to be energized, which ComEd has to do. Again, it's a matter of timing of a number of contractors, but it's finally about done. Weber Road interchange, I have no comment. That's just it's got a life of its own. So, anyway, questions? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Zarate.
Yes.
Trustee Lawler.
Yes.
Trustee Basta.
Yes.
Trustee Watts.
Yes.
Trustee Carpenzano.
Yes.
Trustee Jaskowitz.
Yes. Next resolution approving a purchase of municipal enforcement software from DACRA Tech, DACRA Tech. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion trustee Jaskowitz, second trustee Basta. This resolution approves the purchase of software from DACRA Tech for the police department. This is an e-citation software for use by Code Enforcement Division and traffic citations. The current software is compatible with our AS400 system, which we're in the process of phasing out. How old's AS400? 25 years?
About 25 years old.
Yeah, that system's about 25 years old, which is kind of unheard of with computer systems. IBM designed it and built it, but it's time to move on to a different system, and new systems operate differently, so we need this software to do tickets for code enforcement. The monthly cost is $1,600. The annual cost is $19,200, which is $800 of the budget amount. The Public Safety Committee and James Farrell, the Chief Information Officer, reviewed. I recommends acceptance. I occasionally, by the way, I get calls from residents who get a letter about a code enforcement issue, be it their blue bin out in the front yard, be it yard waste, tall grass, broken something. And it's interesting, those are simply letters making you aware of it. They're not tickets. They're just suggestions. We'll call them suggestions. Now, if those suggestions aren't followed after a week or two, it could turn into a ticket. And this system will allow us to effectively write the ticket, I believe, on the street, and by Bluetooth technology, which is nothing more than 5G, will be transmitted to our computer system here, and a ticket will be issued and mailed out. So it'll smooth that process out a bit on the ticket part. Will it do the letter too?
Yes, sir. We'll do the letter, do the court adjudication. It's all compatible with iPads in the field, so.
So you have iPads in the field, which you see frequently. You see them lying at Portillo's and other places. Well, we're going to use it for this. It will also generate the warning letter, the suggestion letter. Questions?
Just a comment. We discussed this today in our Public Services Committee meeting, and one of the advantages, as the mayor mentioned, it streamlines the overall enforcement process, which obviously improves employee productivity. But one of the other benefits is the potential for expansion to even tracking some of our public services and public work activity. So this has growth potential within the organization.
Any other comments, questions? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Zarate.
Yes.
Trustee Lawler.
Yes.
Trustee Basta.
Yes.
Trustee Watts.
Yes.
Trustee Carpenzano.
Yes.
Trustee Jaskowitz.
Yes. Next resolution is approving a 2020 Community Development Block Grant applications and agreements with Will County. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion trustee Watts.
Second.
Second trustee Carbonzano. This is all the same information during the public hearing. This formally approving the resolution. Again, approves the 2020 block grant program, agreement with Will County to administer the program. The village's allocation will be $403,919. The individual amounts: housing $36,000, emergency home repairs $35,000, emergency housing displacement assistance $2,000, infrastructure improvements $250,136, and administration fee to Will County $80,783, a total of $403,919. Again, these monies can only be allocated and spent in low mod areas as defined by the Housing and Urban Development HUD in Washington, D.C. Questions? Any other comments? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Zarate.
Yes.
Trustee Lawler.
Yes.
Trustee Basta.
Yes.
Trustee Watts.
Yes.
Trustee Carpenzano.
Yes.
Trustee Jaskowitz.
Yes. Next, we have an ordinance approving an agreement between the Village of Bolingbrook and WeatherTech to enforce traffic laws and ordinances at various addresses in our parking lots. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion trustee Basta, second trustee Lawler. This is something we've done at most every retail or shopping area or industrial park area in town. This ordinance authorizes the police department to enter into private property, because those are all privately owned lots, to enforce code and vehicle violations. WeatherTech has 15 properties which will be covered by this agreement. In effect, if somebody's parking illegally in a handicap spot, I believe we could issue a handicap spot ticket before.
Yes, that's a state ordinance, but.
Yeah, that's a state law. But this will get us to, allow us to enforce other issues on these lots. And again, we've done this with Tony's, we've done it with most of the shopping areas. So, questions? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Zarate.
Yes.
Trustee Lawler.
Yes.
Trustee Basta.
Yes.
Trustee Watts.
Yes.
Trustee Carpenzano.
Yes.
Trustee Jaskowitz.
Yes. May sound a little defensive, so before somebody out there says, WeatherTech is a major industry here in Bolingbrook. They've never received a dime in tax incentives, which we don't do, and all they're doing here is joining the list of multiple other addresses in town here who we manage the same properties, the same shopping centers, strip malls. We certainly have it with the Promenade. We have it with the IKEA area. So we monitor all those parking lots. Do we do a roll call?
Yes.
Okay. Next, we have an ordinance amending Chapter 13 of the municipal code, increasing Class C5 from 2 to 3 for the Fairfield Inn and Suites by Marriott, 165 Fernwood Drive. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion trustee Jazzareth,
Second.
second trustee Lawler. We have tonight with us, and I don't know if it's the owner or general manager, we'll find out in a moment, but would you come up to the podium, please? You start by giving us your name and your title.
Good afternoon. Jose Quintero, I'm the Vice President of Operations and Business Development for Winston Hospitality.
Okay, thank you. The Fairfield Inn is the one that's going up on it's on Fernwood, but it's off Lily Cash. It's set back a bit. There's a buildable lot in front of it. Main question I got for you is, I know there's been a lot of issues, COVID-19 and so forth. I know you've been working. What's your projected date now of completion?
We are projecting mid-August. Obviously, we have not been spared by the COVID-19. We're talking to all the vendors, and unfortunately, we're talking to, with Marriott, their boss's boss's boss. They've, laid off so many people. So depending on...
The other two bosses have been laid off, so you're going...
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, the hospitality industry has been hit so hard, it's unbelievable. I mean, in Bolingbrook, 3 hotels closed down. The Hampton, Spring Hill, temporarily, a Loft.
And they're back open.
They're back and open now, but it's been tough. So, we're still confident that, with the right leadership, we'll be able to be successful in Bolingbrook. So we're looking forward to it.
How many rooms?
It'll be 96 rooms.
96 rooms, and what's the price range on a night stay? What's the rack
Pre-COVID
rate?
or
Your
after
rack
COVID?
rate, as you call it.
Pre-COVID or after COVID?
Well, that's a good point.
No, we're still looking at a good, 119, ADR. Bolingbrook is a strong town. It's definitely, we did our due diligence, and it definitely has the corporate business to sustain it. But again, it all depends on how quickly travel comes back.
Well, I'm getting the sense that it's coming back a little quicker than some people anticipated. Again, given the requirements and directives. But people ask, how can we support another hotel? If there's an industry that I've dealt with over 33 years that knows the market better than anybody, it's hotels. They know what the potential is here, and they all know each other's rack rates, which is the room cost, and they all know each other's occupancy. There's no secrets in the business.
Correct.
How they find it out, I'm not sure, and frankly, I don't want to know. But the point is, they're building here because they know they'll do good business here. This isn't like, gee, I think I'll build a hotel in Bolingbrook. And there have been occasions where somebody's called me, that's coming to this area, and, oh, you got a room in Bolingbrook? I've called, and everything has been booked. We have 10 or 11 hotels now, close to 1,000 rooms. And what we're seeing, and I'm not sure how it's going to shake out after COVID-19, because McCormick Place has also been closed for a couple of months, but there are people who stay in a Bolingbrook hotel and drive down to McCormick Place off rush hour. In other words, they go down there at 9:30 in the morning, they do their conference, maybe stay after the rush hour at night or come back before the rush hour starts and do their business. They can stay out here for probably 30, 40 cents on the dollar. In other words, they pay $119 a night here, they'll pay $250 or $3 downtown.
Minus the parking. Minus the parking in downtown
Yeah,
Chicago.
plus there's no parking, plus every time you ask for something, somebody doesn't have their hand out for a tip. I'm not knocking people getting tips, but that isn't part of our services out here. And lastly, and also equally important, they can come out the next morning and be relatively assured their car is not going to be broken into or on blocks.
Correct.
So that's where they benefit too. And So it's a good thing for all of us. So, you got anything you'd like to add to your hotel, of course, liquor license for those who want to have a cocktail? There's no restaurant, right?
There is no restaurant, similar to the Spring Hill Suites. We have a little convenience store that's available there. We have wine and beer available, given the hours that the liquor license will permit. So if they come back from a local event, weddings or tournaments, they can obviously enjoy a couple drinks afterwards in the nice, beautiful lobby that we'll have.
And the hotel and motel tax, which they don't particularly like, but I don't know of anybody who's rejected getting a room based on hotel motel tax, because they say it's $119 when you check out. It's $119 plus hotel tax and other fees. And in some cities, that's up to $30, $40. Chicago and major cities. Point is, that money is what is paying for the tourism dollars, is paying for the fireworks next week. It's not coming out of property tax or other revenues. It's coming out of hotel motel tax generated by all our hotels. So, thank you for the fireworks.
My pleasure. Enjoy them.
Well, it's mid-August, so you'll have a big, I assume, grand opening.
We'll absolutely have a grand opening, and everybody will be invited. Thank you.
You invite former mayors?
Former mayors?
Former.
What are you trying to say?
Well, I got a 5-year-old in California that's calling my name.
Oh.
Anyway.
Noted.
Any other questions? Okay, roll call vote, please. Thanks for coming tonight.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Trustee Zarate?
Yes.
Trustee Lawler?
Yes.
Trustee Basta?
Yes.
Trustee Watts?
Yes.
Trustee Carpenzano?
Yes.
Trustee Jaskowitz?
Yes. Our next ordinance is for discussion only this evening. It's an ordinance amending chapters 2, 3, 13, and 19 of the municipal code regarding administration of the executive department. And again, for discussion only. This ordinance would convert the office of mayor from a full-time to part-time position. The change will be effective with the election of April 2021. The salary for a part-time mayor would be $35,000 a year and would include the duties of alcohol and tobacco commissioner. The trustee's salary would be $16,625 and the clerk's salary would be $24,000. The clerk's position will be a part-time elected position. All salaries will be adjustable annually based on a consumer price index. The ordinance would also reestablish the village administrator position and formalize the deputy mayor position with a 5% stipend over the trustee's salary. The terms and conditions of office cannot be changed during the current term of office and changes, so this must be approved 180 days or 6 months prior to an election. This has been discussed and tossed about, around about a lot of people, many of whom are doing it to be malicious. Some are doing it because they just don't know the facts. I'm going to comment on a couple of those. First of all, this is an administrator position. This is not a manager position. We've been compared to Joliet, the problems they're having finding a manager. They have a city manager form of government. The city manager is a very powerful position in the city form of government. They hire and fire, and they just tell the board who the new fire chief is, or the police chief, or the director of public works, what have you. The administrator form of government reports to the board and does not do any hiring directly without the advice and consent of the board of trustees. It is very similar in some respects to the school superintendent. They report to the board and do as they're told. So this is an administrator, not a manager. For those people who are out there throwing around the term manager, please read the municipal code and get educated on what the manager position is versus administrator. Next is part-time. A lot of people say, well, Claire's leaving, so he wants to make it part-time. He had a full-time job as mayor, and now he's leaving. And somebody even actually suggested we're doing that, eliminating the chance for a woman to get the job. A woman could potentially be mayor, a woman could potentially be administrator. That's wide open. Two things. I realized over the last several years, and I have enjoyed being a full-time mayor. I'm not going to argue that point. It's been a great run. We are about built out. There really isn't any land of significance for any further industrial developments in Bolingbrook. The biggest piece is the one that was purchased by Amazon. and we've not heard from them since February, and that'll play out how it plays out. Eventually, they'll come to us. It's not zoned for Amazon, and they have a height restriction in Amazon. Those are two major issues this board and the staff will deal with. But that's the largest piece. There's a couple of infill lots, maybe a 50,000 square foot building, but the bulk of our industrial parks, based on our current borders, which are pretty much locked in with Woodridge, Romeoville, Naperville, so forth, we're built out. So we don't have the intense development activity we've had. Yet to be developed. But based on our growth and what's been done, those cards are pretty well laid out in terms of what we want to see built. You see it around far west side with River Hills, you see it with Southgate and other developments. All that housing will be of that style, single family, higher end housing, because we have a lot of inexpensive housing and moderately priced housing, so we have the whole spread. So that's pretty much laid out in terms of development agreements we've done over the years. We're back to basically administering the town on a day-to-day basis, which there are professional managers and staff available to run this town based on the policies and directives of this board. We have the talent on board in the village, and there's outside talent can be brought in. And this will be less expensive than the existing form of government, right? It's not a lot, 30, 40,000, but the attorney's fees will be reduced with the administrative form of government, because the administrator could take out last year's ordinance, change the dates and the amount of money, and present it to the board, as opposed to running it through a law firm at several $100s an hour. That's not unheard of. And a very significant point, and again, I know some don't necessarily appreciate this, but to be in this public service, I mean, one of the questions, by the way, is why we meet at 8 o'clock at night. I don't know what people want us, time they want us to meet, but we've been meeting at 8 o'clock at night for 45, 50 years. And that probably was driven, and I'm sure, almost sure that's the reason, because back in those days, most of our people worked in the city. And it took them until 6:30 or 7 o'clock to get home. You know, say goodnight to the kids, have a quick bite to eat, and come to a meeting at 8 o'clock. And that is also applied to people who want to come to our meeting. So that's how 8 o'clock got established. This board wants to go to 7:30, 7 o'clock in the future, have at it. But that's why it was done, to take care of our residents and allow them time. Now, some of those same critics that may question that, well, what about the county board meets in the middle of the day? Almost impossible for a resident to go to. I think county board should meet at night. But back to the position of mayor. A full-time mayor's job means everybody would have to give up their career to be mayor of this community. Now, some exceptions might be an insurance agent, an attorney, who could still work their law office a little bit. But, let's see, there's other examples. But if you had a job as a school teacher, you couldn't run for mayor without giving up your teaching career. And you might say, well, they can get a job if they get beat the next election or quit. Well, that's not so easy to do. Somebody that's teaching 20, 25 years, runs for mayor, serves 4 years, loses an election, they can't go back to work. They're not going to get hired. School districts have a tendency to hire younger teachers, less expensive teachers. Person that runs their own, again, another person could be somebody who has their own business, could be part-time mayor. But a person that's in a career working full-time for some other company, that means they quit their job, and again, they come back to work 4 years later or 8 years later. Where are they going to go? And that is a factor, folks. First of all, I know a lot of people who won't run for mayor because of the craziness of Facebook and the allegations and the suggestions and comments. People say, I want nothing to do with public life. So Facebook's driving good people out of the business. But the point is, we want to make it available to everybody here in town to have an opportunity, if they choose to do so, to be mayor of this village, and a part-time mayor will make that available. And lastly, there's been comments about the Liquor and Tobacco Commissioner. Again, the critics out there, and we all know who they are, it's the same names on every issue comes up this board. The mayor admitted Liquor and Tobacco Commissioner's positions have been taken over the police department. So he's been being paid for nothing for 35 years. First of all, it's 33 years, and second of all, I become full-time mayor in 2001, which is 19 years. So those people out there run fast and loose to the facts. It's been 19 years. But during that 19 years, a number of things have changed. I, along with the support of the board, have methodically moved away from bars. We have technically in Bolingbrook one bar, Clementine's. Everybody else is a restaurant that serves cocktails as a support to their business. It's not their primary function. In fact, we passed an ordinance which requires to get a liquor license, you have to have 60% of your business food sales, not alcohol, to get away from bars. And that has taken time as people have come and gone over the years. Plus, we have, with the efforts of Ken Temple, the police department, and previous chiefs, we've become a very orchestrated sting operation, where we pick somebody who looks like they could be 21, who's not 21, and we send them to every establishment in town. And I don't think, with the exception of one or two situations in the last 3 years, anybody's been busted, because they all check, because they know we're very hard on that. And if there has been an issue, we have an informal meeting, they pay a fine, and that fine goes in, which could be considered reimbursement for the liquor commissioner's salary. But regardless, so we have methodically moved away from it, and I feel very confident that can be absorbed. It has been absorbed, the police department, not 20 years ago, not 10 years ago, but over the last handful of years. We established the tobacco commission position because tobacco, back when I became full-time mayor, was a huge issue. Tobacco products, vaping, hookah bars, the whole issue. Tobacco stores, all that became issues. Selling of papers, all those things. We were one of the first communities in suburban Chicago to lobby and changed our ordinance. You had to be 21 to buy tobacco. Because the problem was that niche. 18-year-olds could buy tobacco and then give it to their friends who were 16 and 17, still in high school. We changed ours to 21, which meant those 16, 17-year-olds had to find a 21-year-old, which isn't as easy to do. 21-year-olds have matured a bit and said, no, I'm not going to buy you cigarettes. So that helped get rid of the problem. And of course, the state of Illinois, a year or two ago, followed suit, and they changed it statewide to 21. And again, we have a very strong sting operation, which I supervise, but it's handled by the police department. They do stings, they come back to me with a report on every tobacco license holder in Bolingbrook. We talk about if there's a violation, and typically the violations are very minor, shift change, a new employee, this kind of thing. But again, our tobacco places are very good on checking. So that's been the progress of that. So, any other comments? Oh, there was something, Trustee Jazzowitz found out looking this. We put in hours for the mayor, must have office hours, 10 hours per week as a part-time mayor. Now, you might say, why are you doing that? Because there are probably part-time mayors that never come to the office. There's no recourse. Now, I'm not sure what the recourse would be here either. Trustees could never come in. Trustees could skip meetings. There's no recourse in that either. So elective office holders have the prerogative of not doing their job. And you see it periodically throughout Chicagoland. So 10 hours a week. Question was asked, could that be on Saturday? Village Hall is open till noon on Saturday for people to pay bills. The problem with having office hours on Saturday, which could work, you'd probably have to bring in a receptionist to work in addition to yourself being here to handle resident complaints or concerns or questions, what have you. But the 10 hours a week would accommodate, and it would be scheduled as needed, and some could be permanent. Every Tuesday afternoon from 3 to 5, the mayor's in the office. And that could be published on a web page for people to see and access. And they'll, trust me, they'll find your email address very quickly, because I will be sending out emails saying, it ain't me. So anyway, the clerks, we didn't put that in there, so that's going to be added 10 hours a week for the part-time clerk's position. And for those who are interested, the next position, the clerk will not be a village employee other than the position of clerk. They cannot hire themselves, and they never did hire themselves. This board hired the clerk to be a village employee, part-time, and also a clerk. But that's going away after this term of office. Any other questions? Well, again, it's just for discussion.
I have had a couple of residents reach out and just say they would like to see this as a referendum versus having the board decide. Whether it's a good idea or not, I believe it is, but I think a lot of residents feel they would like to have a say-so on whether they want to go in this direction or not.
Where are they tonight?
I'm just telling you, they've
I
been
understand.
talking to trustees.
I understand.
Mayor,
Yes.
I'm also a resident of Bolingbrook.
They can't hear you at home, so you gotta come to the mic.
So, I'm sorry, once again, my name is Jose Quintero. I'm also a resident of Bolingbrook. And just a quick question for you. Why wouldn't we be able to put this to a referendum and let
That's
the
what he just
village?
asked.
I know, but I want you to answer. Why?
By state law, we have to make the decision 180 days for the election. If you put it in a referendum, it goes into the election in November, if that's even humanly possible at this point, and probably is, but it goes on the ballot, and then it's only advisory, right?
Only advisory.
It's only advisory. So this board would be working the same information, and it could be 55-45 to go part-time, 55-45 to go full-time, who knows? But it's strictly advisory, and honestly, I'm not convinced some of the people that want to go to referendum are doing it because they really care. They're just
I'm just trying to educate myself.
playing a political game.
Okay.
Apparently, my reasons I just enumerated weren't convincing to you, but there are certain things that boards are elected to lead and make decisions based on their knowledge. And the trustees up here move about town, yourself included. No, you don't move, but in other words, you're a resident. This has been talked about since January. This is no big surprise. We've been talking about this since January. Every meeting has come up, allowing for as much public input as possible. And again, you see tonight, there's none. Now, we'll get a big rush because Bob's going to post this. Be sure and come out then on the 28th. And we'll get probably a few more people who'll have comments, perhaps just like yourself. But public referendums sometimes make sense, and I got to be careful my word choice here because I don't want to get beat up on saying the public doesn't know. But it's a complex issue. We try to go through the reasons. I think they make sense. And well, I didn't add this to my earlier reason, but I'll add it now. I was also sensing some people running for the job for the money, just because it's a nice political job to have, because there's not a lot of recourse. Somebody could elect a full-time mayor at 140 grand a year and never show up. That happens in Chicago now. I could name communities where that happens right now. And I want somebody that's accountable. That's why we put the hours of attendance in here. And with the phone and this, the mayor's seconds away. But we have staff to monitor a built-out community. Policies are in place on how things should be done. And I get most of my questions to the public come by email. Very few people come into the office. Oh, they do come in, but most just send me an email. Question. My cell phone's on the webpage. I assume the next mayor will do the same. My email address is on the webpage. Nobody calls it home phone anymore. They just call it cell because that's easier. So it's available. Now, if it passes, it's advisory. That means the board would have to make a decision in December or January about what happens starting in March, and it's too late. Because we have to, this has to be done before August 1st, September 1st?
September 1st.
You have to make a decision before September 1st. So, again, some of the critics are saying, well, let's do a referendum because that stalls it. That puts the decision 4 years out because you can't change it during the term. Because there were examples of communities who would raise the mayor's salary a week before the election after they knew they were going to win, or even after the election, because the swearing in of the new board didn't take place till 3 weeks after the election or 4 weeks. So the General Assembly passed a law, decisions affecting salaries of positions have to be made 6 months prior to the election. So you back 6 months off of April 4th, 5th, 6th?
Yep.
6 months back, I don't know, what is that? Is that August, September?
September.
September. So, and there are some people that, it's a complex issue, would they take the time to read a 4 or 5 page detailed conversation? Well, you saw how much I've talked about tonight. And then answer questions, somebody ask it, and others would say, vote against it. for reasons sometimes which aren't always the best.
Okay, thank you.
By the way, I don't know how many, but my guess is, and this is not a statistic that's well known, but my guess is there's not more than 15 or 20 full-time mayors in Chicago, in the state of Illinois.
State of Illinois, yeah.
In the state of Illinois. Most have administrators. Some of the cities have managers, but very few have full-time mayors.
And what if you can comment to, what is the salary of those managers? Do you know?
Of what?
Of the managers, the city managers?
It ranges anywhere from $1.30, $1.40. Some get paid high as $3.50. But it's like full-time mayor in Rosemont gets $250,000 a year. You know, it's whatever the board approves. But managers have different salaries, and there are different staffing configurations. We hope to have a staffing suggestion next week or two for the village that we thought would make work. I've been talking to Jim, and I'll be talking with other staff about a proposal that would make it work.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Roger, a hypothetical question. Assume the COVID virus came and impacted the village as it has done with a part-time mayor. Do you think it would, because I know what you talk about meeting with your administrative staff, your key leaders 3-4 times a day and so on and so on. A part-time mayor would not be able to do that if they got a full-time job. How do you think the village would have handled that with a full-time administrator, part-time mayor? Would it be as effective as we have done a good job of handling this?
Well, that's a good question. It's very hypothetical, so I'll give you a hypothetical answer. Lucas Rickleman and Ken Temple have been my point people during this whole COVID-19. I get a lot of emails, as some of you may see, and I read the papers. I read about what's going on all over the country. I read what the president has to say. I read what the governor has to say. I read what other state governors have to say. And then I get interpretations from Will County. I get interpretations to Page County. We track the numbers, positivity rate, and all the statistics that they've generated over this whole virus situation. Those two feed me what their interpretation is. Ken is Director of Public Safety, which is police and fire. Lucas handles our public services, which is water, sewer, and other issues, which have an indirect impact with COVID-19. And we kind of laughed at him, but every time we've had a public broadcast, he would remind people not to flush the wipes down the toilet, because we had examples where sewage got blocked because people were putting allegedly disposable wipes down the toilet. Point is, we would meet, and almost daily. My guess is a part-time mayor would meet that same schedule. I was part-time mayor for several years, about 19 years before I was full-time. And I would come in every day. I would schedule my vacation time sometimes around obligations here, which were predictable. And if there was a crisis of some sort, and I can't give an example because it's 20-some years ago, but I would come in every day, 4 o'clock, 3:30. They're here till 5. I'm sure there were days they hoped I didn't come in, because I would show up at 4:30 with a list of things I wanted to do, and of course they're thinking about hitting the road. But the staff was very cooperative, and I understood, and I was sympathetic to their obligations post hours, and we would work that all out. But I think a part-time mayor that cares about this village, and I would hope they would make it work. And I don't see it as being impossible to work with at all, because these guys are trained to do what they do. They look to me for policy decisions, and that's what we dealt with. And they would give me recommendations. We'd kick it around. I'd ask them the upside, downside, and we got it done. I mean, we had the same thing with flooding issues, stormwater issues, storm issues, snowstorm issues. You never know when those things are going to hit. COVID-19 is obviously one of those, hopefully, once-in-a-lifetime experiences. But then we get hit with Black Lives Matter, and there's been issues with that. And interpreting the rules. And I've dealt with that. Ken Temple's taken calls like that. Lucas has taken calls like that. What does the governor mean by this? Because some of it didn't make any sense. And they're asking us for our interpretation on it. But that can be done by email and cell phone calls too. I mean, the first 18 years I was mayor, we did a lot of developments, a lot of groundbreakings. We designed Rodeo Drive and extension. We designed Crossroads Parkway. We designed Remington Boulevard East. I was part-time in those days. And it was a bit of a struggle because the demands were intense with people wanting to develop. As I said, that's all done. Now it's a matter of just monitoring it. And I think a full-time professional administrator is the best way to go now to get the best bang for the buck, including the potential election of a mayor. You got the backup of a professional manager there in case the mayor decides not to show up. And that does happen. And there's no much recourse. Once you're duly elected, you're there for 4 years. It's not like there's a recall ability. So, long answer to a short question, hypothetical as it was.
Mayor Claire, if I can just add a few comments. I have talked to some residents, and what I find very interesting is that the same, and Mayor's been mayor for quite a while, you develop some critics. Those, I know, those same critics tend to believe, even though it's kind of farther from the truth, that Mayor Claire is our mayor, is our village administrator, is the yes and is the no. What was that last part? Is the yes and is the no. It's Mayor Claire. What I find interesting is that this is designed to dilute that across your elected board. So this gives more say-so from your board than what maybe even the critics would have said previously.
Excellent point.
This allows, thank you. And I've talked through this because there are some critics every so often talk to me and talk about Mayor Claire, and that's usually one of his biggest critiques is, well, it's Mayor Claire's way or the highway. And don't get me wrong, Mayor Claire's done tremendous things for this community, but this should actually put those concerns at ease, because now you have an elected board of trustees that are here that administrator reports to, that now you have a whole bunch more ears that have a whole lot more say in what's happening. So I've heard a lot about that, and once I explain that, it tends to calm some of the folks' concerns, and it's absolutely right. What are we here to do? We're here to listen. So we've heard from a few, we haven't heard from a lot, but if you have other concerns, please reach out to your trustees. That's what we're here for, and that's what we'll be here for regardless of administrator or change from full to part-time mayor. So I just wanted to add that comment.
It's an excellent point, Mike. I frankly had not thought of that, but it does dilute the power of the mayor a bit. It gives the mayor still got the power, but there's the advice and consent, and the administrator brings things to the board. I had a point I was going to make, but I like that. But you know, back to your comment about some people, I've told people to get elected, I get calls from other towns, new mayors, for advice and direction and suggestions. And I said, first of all, one of the things you have to learn as mayor is somebody has to say yes and somebody has to say no. There's not a lot of people that have the intestinal fortitude to do that. Because people want people to be, you want to be popular. You want to make everybody happy. You can't do that in a town of 76,000 people. I could do that. And I understand. Sometimes when I say yes, it alienates some people. Sometimes when I say no, it alienates some people. And then, of course, you have the political impact. There are people in this town that if I said the sun should come up in the east for the next several years, they would argue that point. It should be up in the west, just because they're contrarians that hate, and it's hate with some people, hate everything I do. And of course, they've accused the board of being rubber stamps over the years. The reality is, Bob was one of them. He's only voted no like 5 times in his 2 years, almost 4 years as trustee. The decisions come to the top. Staff comes up with ideas, they talk to hotel developers, they work it out the plans to build a hotel. It goes through the staff, it comes to my office, we talk about it. It goes through the planning commission, and it goes to committees, sometimes with the board. By the time it gets to this board, it's been vetted, discussed by as much as 4, 5, 6 levels of people. So, and again, squad cars. We're going to buy 10 squad cars. What's there to argue about that? That decision is made when you approve the budget. So later on, you buy the squad cars, low bid. How can you vote no against that? But people are critics that don't like me, and again, I know there's people who don't like me, but I'm leaving, folks. People don't like me, but there's times they just want to be argumentative. And partisan politics has no business in municipal government, in my opinion. There's no Republican or Democrat issues. These are village issues. We don't talk about the NRA and gun control. We don't talk about pro-life, pro-choice. We don't talk about school choice. Those are state and federal issues. We talk about what it takes to run a village. And by the time it gets to this board, they know the answers. They're given all this information. They got a question, they call and ask, and we answer it. And there's been issues over the years that I have pulled off the agenda because I sense there are board members that are concerned about it and want some more questions answered. There's nothing magical. I can wait 2 weeks. There's no rush to get some things approved. But if you do get information on Facebook and others, and you're concerned about what they're saying, first of all, call us. We all got phone numbers. Call us and ask. At least get the correct information. Because there are people out there really that just want to stir things up. And they don't really have any basis. Because they had a fair question about the referendum. The state statutes really make it very awkward. So it becomes, instead of a decision next election, it becomes a 5-year decision. And, you know, everybody up here knows the drill. We've talked about it since January. That's 2 meetings in February, 2 meetings in March, 2 meetings in April, 2 meetings in May, and it's going to be 2 meetings in June. And the Facebook chatter last week was all this accusations of this ridiculous incorrect information, but where are they tonight? Did any of them send email questions in? No. They just want to stir it up. But, you know, California runs by a public referendum. Critical issues are put to the vote. And sometimes that makes sense. The issue on cannabis, there were questions, why do we have cannabis put to referendum? I think people here got a feel for what they want to see in the city. Naperville did go to referendum. It passed by a small margin. Now they're discussing whether they're going to have cannabis or not. Other communities put it in. The General Assembly didn't go to referendum to approve cannabis, so why should we go to referendum to approve cannabis? We were elected to make decisions. And as unpopular as sometimes decisions are, it goes to the territory.
Can I just say something? I urge everyone that's going on Facebook, Nextdoor, Backdoor, any of these platforms, please take Mayor Claire out of the equation. Because a lot of it has a lot to do with liking him, not liking him. He had a canvas in front of him called Bolingbrook. He drew it out to his vision, and that is what we all live in. We have all chosen to come and live in Bolingbrook because of what it offers. So please keep that in mind. He is leaving. He is not going to, I've read some posts where they're saying he's going to apply for the part-time mayor position. That's ridiculous, really. So please take that out. Please take the person out. This is about our village, how to best run our village, how to be the most economical, and that's really what's important. All of us sitting up here, none of us are minions. I'm not offended by that anymore because I'm used to it. Someone said his 3 minions. We're not 3, we are 6. Yes, Bob is one of us, and he's equal to us. You can contact us. We don't necessarily always troll your negative remarks. So just reach out, have a conversation, pick up the phone. And just, you know, it's interesting how I'm getting maybe positive comments about the part-time mayor and how the administrator's more helpful and how this opens things up, and Bob's getting the negative. We are not divided. We are one, and we just want best for the community where we live. None of us, and I don't know of anyone else that would be interested in a 33-year run for mayor. So.
Let me comment on that first. Thank you, Barry. And again, that's a very good point. Take me out of the equation. Elvis is leaving the building. I'm doing this because I think what's best for the village of Bolingbrook. You have elected me, I believe, 9 times in a town of 76,000 people to run this village. I know many of you weren't here 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Back in the day, this village, we didn't have a lot going. And a lot of people now look to Bolingbrook with great respect about the beautiful hotels we got, the promenade, the golf course, the airport, the housing. I would not do anything that I thought would jeopardize this future. I'm doing this because I think it's the best for this village in the future. I would not do what I've done for close to 40 years of service between trustee, mayor, police and fire commissioner. That's 40 years of service to this village. I would not do anything to jeopardize what I've done. the sacrifices I've made, and I'm not complaining. I did it willingly, and I loved almost every minute of it. So this is done with the best interest of Bolingbrook. My critics are out there, I know it, they chatter, it's the same names, you read Facebook, they're back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Hey, you know, get a life, study what's going on, and talk to these people. But thank you. Sheldon, you want to say
Yeah,
something?
Mayor, I just wanted to reassure our residents that no matter where this organizational structure ends up, that, you know, I'm committed, and I know I can speak for my fellow trustees, that of constituent services that you have grown accustomed to will remain. Our main objective when the mayor leaves the building, as he just mentioned, is that it's as seamless as possible. And we know that's going to be a huge challenge and some big shoes to fill. But as it relates to constituent services, that will be our number one primary goal, is to ensure that it remains where you are used to. We have a top-notch staff, and the decision that's made as far as the administrator is concerned, the goal, again, is for it to be seamless, and this village runs in the top-notch fashion that we've all grown accustomed to. So that I'm committed to, and again, I feel confident that I can speak for each one of my fellow board members that that will be the case. Thank you.
All right, that's it. Trustee comments, reports. Trustee Zarate.
Thank you, Mayor. Today, more than ever before, we need to count everyone living in the village of Bolingbrook. In order to ensure that our community receives resources and accurate representation, regardless of your legal status, your religion, how many are in your family, or who is a part of it. We all count in Bolingbrook. It only takes a few minutes to fill out the census. Visit my2020 census, census.gov, or call 844-330-2020. They are available from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. 7 days a week. Todos cuentan. Ahora más que nada necesitamos que todos que viven aquí en el Village de Bolingbrook, que cuando reciben en el buzón, es muy importante para firmar los papeles, porque no es nada que vamos a, nomás queremos saber cuántos viven en tu casa para recibir estos recursos para las calles, para el camión que levanta a sus hijos para ir a la escuela. Esto no les va a pasar nada. Queremos vivir juntos, queremos saber si van a componer las calles. Es muy importante porque tú tienes que ir a trabajar, tú tienes que ver. Todo esto es para saber, para ello, el Estado nos puede dar los recursos que necesitamos. Pueden hablar a este teléfono 844-330-2020. Están abiertos de 7 en la mañana hasta las 2 de la tarde, 7 días a la semana. Gracias.
Okay, good job. Understood most of it. I won't translate it back. So. The summer concert series is continuing. As you all may remember, the first 6 concerts are put on by the Bolingbrook Park District using the facility. These are virtual concerts for the time being, and so attendance on the Hill is not permitted according to the governor's orders.
It changes Friday.
It changes Friday, so keep tuned as to some possibilities at adapting to the changes that are made. But for tomorrow night, you can join the concert live starting at video stream at 7:25 p.m. And you can go to connect through Bolingbrook.com and click on BCT Live. You can also watch on Bolingbrook Community Comcast Channel 6, AT&T UVerse Channel 99, and you can go to Facebook Live. There's several sites, but look up the PAC Performing Arts Center for the Village of Bolingbrook Facebook Live. And there are people who are tuning in from all over the country. See, the recent numbers are over 5,000. This concert tomorrow night is kind of an interesting one. It's Dick Diamond and the Dusters. Last year, they got rained out because it was a torrential storm and they couldn't perform. So the Park District brought them back this year, and it's going to be a great concert. So stay tuned for updates regarding concerts after this, and enjoy tomorrow night's concert.
Yeah, 50 rule going into effect Friday is for inside a building. We're talking about a grounds of several acres.
Yep.
And we're going to ask people to picnic to socially distance, not, in groups. Bingo could be had in a tent with 50 people. They're limited to 50 people, socially distanced. So the rules change, and outside is different from inside. We're talking
Yep.
about outside activities.
Yeah, there is on the governor's phased information, outdoor concerts or outdoor performances are different than what's being done today. So.
First off, I'd like to congratulate Bolingbrook resident Caden Vittorini and his family. Caden and the Extreme Dance X-Men were featured this evening on America's Got Talent. They received 3 yeses, and Simon was 1,000,000% yes. So congratulations to them, the Vittorini family, and best of luck on moving forward. We're very excited. As Mayor Claire indicated, we will have the 4th of July fireworks. They will raise in height to about 300 feet. Due to social distancing, there will be no festival on the grounds of the golf club this year. Parking will be allowed at nearby roads and parking lots. More details will be coming out shortly. I know we've gotten several messages and texts and phone calls about where to park and how early, and that'll be coming out soon. Lastly, we're all in this together. American Red Cross Bolingbrook Community will be hosting a blood drive at the Community Service Council, 440 Quadrangle Drive, Suite C. It'll be held on Friday, July the 24th, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. You can register, schedule a blood donation appointment at redcrossblood.org or by calling 1-800-RED-CROSS. That's it for me. Thank you.
All right. The Will County Health Department wants you to know that they are offering free COVID-19 testing at various sites. The Bolingbrook location looks like it has passed. It was June 12th. Not sure if there are going to be any other dates, but there are other locations ongoing. You have Monee 5601 Manhattan Monee Road, the Housing Authority of Joliet Stevenson Building, 102 Stryker Avenue, the Housing Authority of Joliet Kennedy Building, 2200 Oneida Street, and then the Housing Authority of Joliet 400 block of Bluff Street. Any questions, you can call 815-727-8480. But it is free testing, and it's for anyone that wants to be tested. The Bolingbrook STEM Association, they're excited to let you know that they will be offering a summer break STEM camp. It will be virtual this summer. It's going to take place July 20th through the 24th. That's 1 full week there at 1 hour per day. Students will learn about Python. They will learn HTML, sort of the basic concepts on the front end of creating a website, and also Scratch game design. So that's going to be for ages 9 to 18. It will be published soon on the Bolingbrook STEM Association Facebook page, just by looking up Bolingbrook STEM Association, or the website at bolingbrookSTEM.org.
So phase 4 is set to begin this Friday, June 26th, which means indoor dining is going to start to begin to reopen for our local restaurants. So stay tuned for that. I think they're allowing now parties up to 10 people versus 6. So if you've been rained out on some of your outdoor plans, there's some lists floating around on some restaurants that are already announcing the inside of their restaurants to be open. Again, that starts on Friday. Hearthaven Outreach is proud to announce their 17th annual golf fundraiser. This year it'll be an Anytime Golf. So you can go to hearthavenoutreach.org/golf to learn more, but basically you'll be able to set your own tee time sometime between August 1st and September 1st. You'll submit your scores, and that is how organizations are trying to raise money this year. One final thing, the farmers market, the street markets at the Promenade are starting back up, socially distanced, on July 2nd. There's a plethora of vendors and crafters and even some food folks that'll be out there. They're going to be spaced greater than 10 feet apart. They're taking up 4 streets within the Promenade. There won't be a summer concert series at the Promenade. However, there may be some here and there acoustical music maybe being played. And again, they're just asking folks to stay socially distanced and enjoy the ambiance over at the Promenade. That's going to be every Thursday from 4 to 9 p.m. The street market. And just a note about Jim McWethy. I've only had, back during my chamber days, opportunity to work with him a few times, but I will tell you, from what I hear from his staff, he is so committed to his employees, to the industry. Even throughout COVID-19, his teams really looked out for that hospitality industry as far as putting out promotional videos for communities at large, beyond their own business during this tough time. So a word of thought to the McWethy family in general. That's all. Thank you.
For those of you who are planning to attend the picnic on Sunday, I urge you to play safe. Use social distancing, wear a mask, and so on. I know there are a few people out there who are not respectful of other people's rights because you feel your rights supersede those, and you don't feel you need to wear a mask, you don't feel like you need to be social distance, and you can do whatever you please. That's not respectful of other people's rights, health, and everything else. So please, be it the village picnic, be it the 4th of July fireworks, whether you go to our village or someplace else, or whatever the case may be, just be respectful of other people's health and how they want to live their life as well. In the last few meetings, I've also talked about the food pantries and how stressed they have been with people demanding their needs and services. And that has not stopped, probably will not stop for a while. But the biggest thing they need besides food donations and money donations is diapers. Now, there are several different diaper depots within town, and I know New Life Lutheran Church has a very, very strong presence in that field of collecting diapers and distributing diapers to families who need them. If you have a baby in the house or a toddler in the house, you know it's one of the biggest expenses you have. And if you've lost your job or you have issues trying to make ends meet because of what's been going on over the last 3 months, diapers can really drain your budget. So if you can help out and donate or buy diapers in bulk, and then donate them to food pantries or to the churches or whoever else is going to help service them, we would appreciate your help. Thank you.
Done? Hey, I heard most of this before, so I was just checking the Facebook Live. This is what we see. And this is the irony of this. There's a person that posted on Facebook Live, I don't come to meetings, I don't feel safe around that many people. Now, we counted what, there's 20 people here tonight. Yet, that same person was at one of the peaceful protests last week where there were 200 or 300 people. So, outside. So, I don't get the inconsistency, sometimes hypocrisy, but that's the kind of stuff we live with as trustees when people make those kind of comments. Anyway, we're done. Any motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Motion by trustee Basta, seconded by trustee Watts. Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Stand adjourned.